This is Heather again at Versium. Thank you for joining us. This is our brand new webinar, Data into Dollars, How Data-Driven Marketing Will Improve Your Profitability. So let's get started. Again, I'm Heather Gonio. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager over here at Versium. And you've probably all seen my emails about the webinar, so thank you again for taking a look at them and joining us today. And now I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Executive Officer, Chris Maddie. Chris started Versium 6 years ago with the vision of helping marketers to utilize data and data technologies to improve their marketing and ROI. He lives and breathes technology innovation. Being involved in several early-stage technology ventures, his success spans enterprises in the internet, mobile, and SaaS spaces. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you very much, Heather. It's a pleasure to be presenting. Today we're going to discuss turning data into dollars. And more specifically, what does it mean to be a fully data-driven marketing organization? I thought I'd start by telling a little story. It was 6 years ago, prior to starting Versium. And if everybody recalls, back about 6 years ago, that's back when Groupon and Living Social were all the rage. And everybody was getting these really great offers in their inbox. Or maybe they weren't such great offers. I recall one time I got an offer for Brazilian wax in West Seattle. Now, I'm not the best candidate for Brazilian wax, and I live over an hour and a half away from West Seattle. So it's clear that, at least in my case, or this particular example, I was not being optimally targeted. And in fact, that is the case much more broadly than just in the case of Groupon and Living Social 6 years ago. The question is it possible to use data and data science to do a much better job marketing to prospects? And the answer is, it absolutely is. Today, with the abundance of cloud compute power and advanced analytics, much, much more can be done to understand customers, to predict who will buy products and services, and ultimately drive a much greater ROI towards marketing activities. A few years ago, Glenn Urban, a leading psychologist at MIT, did a test with a leading luxury car manufacturer. And they created 3 versions of a website. And at the beginning of the entry point, one version showed a car with a person driving with the top down, hair blowing in the wind, really enjoying themselves. The other entry point showed the picture of the car with a bunch of performance statistics, details on the engine, miles per gallon, speed, and so on. Very technical. And the third emphasized safety. 3 different types of scenarios that might appeal to different buying populations. Depending on which entry point the test group of consumers went into, the entire site from that point forward was different and tailored to the nuances of the particular desires of those 3 examples. The net effect of tuning the site differently based upon the characteristic desires or what was important to those consumers yielded a 40% increase in user engagement. So it was clear that by better understanding the customer and tailoring the messaging, a much better job of marketing was achieved. Today, CMOs have a few significant problems that they're trying to address. Enterprises are drowning in data, but starving for actionable intelligence. If you talk to CMOs, they'll tell you, what are some of their biggest problems? How do I make my data more actionable? How do I do a better job personalizing my messaging so that my prospects engage with my marketing activities more effectively? How do I increase conversion rates? How do I drive more revenue, acquire more customers, and get better value for every marketing dollar I spend? Data and becoming data-driven helps address these problems or goes a long way towards optimizing those challenges. We can use data and data technologies today to enable to communicate better with customers, to personalize the messaging towards their desires, needs, and how they want to hear about products and services. And using advanced analytics and artificial intelligence to do a far better job predicting who is most likely to buy products and services so that the targeting can be most effectively achieved. At the end of the day, what this means is data translates into greater ROI, greater top-line revenue, and more money. Let's shift over to some real-world challenges that we've experienced in our journey talking with significant enterprises. This particular example was a major retailer. Everyone would recognize the name, and they're in virtually every mall in America. They chose not to disclose their brand at this point. They have 100 million customer records. It resides in 8 data silos. They have an online store. They have their offline store. They have a few different brands. Same customer may shop at those different stores. The data on those customers, their behaviors, their activities, their purchasing tendencies, resides in 8 different databases. Often it's very outdated. It's stale. It's old. People move. They change email addresses. So the ability to utilize that data most effectively to drive marketing is a challenge based upon data silos and old, outdated data. I recently spoke with Petco and their new head of data analytics as they're starting to put emphasis into looking at data to drive their marketing. And as we discussed all of the different artificial intelligence and lead scoring and modeling that could be done, this individual said, well, wait a minute. I have 20 million Petco loyalty card members, and I know nothing about them. I know a little bit about what they purchase in the store, but I don't know if they have children. I don't know where they live. I don't know how do I optimize my coupon campaigns. I know very little about my customers. I need to know more. T-Mobile has a challenge. They have both a business-to-consumer business, selling wireless service. They also have a business-to-business part of their business. Consumers are professionals, and professionals are consumers. How do you identify the differences? How do you optimize the targeting? How do you use these insights to better drive marketing response rates? Data helps address all of these challenges. So what does it look like to be a data-driven organization throughout the customer journeys? And in fact, this happens to be also a picture of what our Versium's platform delivers in terms of tools. It starts with the data that exists within the enterprise today. How do we make that better through data hygiene? Then, how do we add additional data to the system to better understand who the customer and prospects are? What are their behavioral characteristics? Once we get that rich data, now we can start using advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning models to do a far better job predicting who is most likely to buy. Then you can score the records that you have or the prospects that are in the universe. You can create highly effective audiences that contain prospects with the highest propensity to purchase so that you acquire more customers more effectively. Once you have these customers, how do we use data and data science to optimize cross-sell and upsell opportunities, to identify your best customers, your loyal customers, customers that drive the most revenue? How do we identify potential churn to launch effective nurturing campaigns to minimize attrition? All of these things, when done effectively, drive significant ROI throughout the organization. Let's get specifically into a few of these. Data hygiene. 30 to 40% of enterprise data is bad. It either resides in data silos, it's old and outdated, it's not current, there are errors and omissions. During entry, if you don't hit Shift 2, you don't get an @ symbol, that email is no longer valid. All of these things affect the ability to communicate, to understand the message to your customers. Improving the quality of this data as a start point is the first step in the journey of being a customer-driven marketing organization. The next step is data enrichment. Know your customers better. There's all sorts of data available out there that can be layered into customer records to give insights into something as simple as demographics, to what's their business professional profile, what are their purchasing behaviors, what are their activities and interests. There's all kinds of data that can formulate a deep, rich insight into the nature of your customers, to allow for segmentation, to allow for personalization. Understanding your customer allows you to market more effectively. Once you get all this data together in effective means, now we can start using artificial intelligence. These are advanced machine learning algorithms, and they're a game changer. AI-based modeling is evolutionary from traditional rules-based modeling on a limited set of data. AI-based modeling allows thousands of data attributes to go in towards the prediction of who is most likely to buy. The old rules-based approach, I'd like to market to women in suburbia that own a house, make over 150 grand in income, have kids, and drive an SUV. Seems pretty targeted. That persona is only 6 attributes. What if you could take 1,000 attributes about that particular household or consumer and then determine, do those attributes or characteristics correlate to propensity to buy? That's what AI and these advanced algorithms do. They allow the processing of significant volumes of data to be able to identify buying behavioral patterns. Ultimately, this targeting yields much greater conversion rates. For Versium and the Versium predictive analytics platform, it all starts with data. There's no new math being created. It's all about how you process the data, how you prepare the data, and how much data goes into these advanced analytic models to be able to predict propensity to purchase. We trademarked our proprietary data, Life Data. We have over 1 trillion data attributes on businesses and consumers that can be layered into our predictive models. Who is a person from 9 to 5, a vice president of marketing with a buying desire for certain business products for their company? From 5 to 9, a soccer mom or soccer dad in suburbia that has all sorts of attributes in terms of everything from what type of car they drive, where they have lived, what are their activities and interests. A person who drives a hybrid is different than someone who drives a sports car. Someone who likes rock climbing is different from somebody who's an avid reader. And these behavioral attributes affect purchasing behavior, propensity, needs, desires. By pulling this data together and being able to layer it onto existing customer records that a company has on their existing customers, a much deeper insight and understanding of who those customers are can be derived. So let's go back to the T-Mobile challenge. And we'll share with you how Versium helped drive significant improvements in marketing. Now recall, the scenario there is there's a business-to-business side of T-Mobile targeting wireless subscription to business professionals. And there's, as everyone knows, a business-to-consumer operation for more traditional consumption of wireless services. And recall, business person is a person. How do we cross-index those identities and create new and unique optimized messaging that improve marketing response rates? Well, we start with the data that T-Mobile has. Past customer successes from previous campaigns. Who has bought wireless services? And not just who has bought versus who did not buy, but who are the high-value buyers? Who's spending the most on data plans, buying tablets, and so on? We start with a sample of that data. We layer on vast volumes of proprietary life data. All the attributes I mentioned, from cars to demographics to financial characteristics. There's literally upwards of 20,000 different features that can be assigned to an individual household or consumer that defines the characteristics of who that person or household is. The combined data set then goes into advanced AI-based modeling. And what those models are really doing are looking at the attributes or the combination of attributes that reside within the buying population versus the people who did not buy. The human mind can understand that a person of a certain culture might like that type of cultural food. But when you put thousands of columns of data into the equation, it takes advanced compute power to really look for those patterns, those signals. And you uncover new drivers towards propensity to buy that one would never thought about with the human mind. Once those models are then trained, Now it's possible to score the prospect universe, to score the households in a geography, to score the records in a CRM. The higher the score, the more likely that target is to convert or buy. This is how we're able to achieve optimized targeting using data and advanced analytics. The net result, 350% increase in marketing response rate and conversion when using these types of analytics and data technologies. This is a significant impact to the ROI equation. And we regularly see these types of improvements, literally 1, 2x, 3x improvements in response rates, conversion rates, and so on when we're able to effectively use predictive analytics and predictive modeling. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about how do we get access? How does you as potential interested parties that want to take advantage of these advancements in data and data technologies? There are three primary ways Versium deploys its analytics platform. One is Data Finder, which is a self-service tool, a destination website where folks can upload files to perform data hygiene, to enhance the data they have with things like contact records, demographics, financial, various details on individuals and households for segmentation, profiling, and personalization, as well as predictive targeting. Key thing being, these are all automated tools that allow a broad audience to gain access to these capabilities instead of hiring expensive data science teams, instead of engaging expensive professional services firms. We're putting the power of data and data technology in the hand of the enterprise. We've taken these same capabilities that reside within the analytics platform, data hygiene, data enrichment, predictive analytics, and we're building them into the existing workflows within the enterprise, i.e. the CRM and marketing automation platforms, where the marketers and sales folks are doing their work today, and we're giving them this data intelligence. We're cleansing the 30% of data that is bad in CRMs, and we're putting the power of AI-based modeling into the existing workflow that resides within the organization. Everything our platform does, all of the different automated tools that we deliver, are also available via very rich API infrastructure. And these APIs allow customization or configuration to meet the specific needs of our enterprise customers or of marketing agencies that are looking to deliver this value proposition to their brands. At the end of the day, what this enables an enterprise or business to achieve is a fully data-driven marketing organization, and to create a customer data platform that is seamlessly integrated into all of their marketing activities that enables cross-channel predictive targeting using the latest in advanced analytics and AI-based technologies. At the end of the day, it's a journey for the organization, and as the organization becomes more data-driven, the promise of improving marketing efficiencies, the promise of driving higher top-line revenue, the promise of improving conversion rates is a guarantee. We'll be having some additional webinars in the future where we'll get into a lot more detail on some of these topics in terms of how we do data hygiene, what are some of the specific problems that are seen, what do we experience, how do we fix them in our coming series on becoming a data-driven marketing organization. With that, Heather, I turn it over for any questions that may have arisen during the presentation.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. Very good stuff. So yeah, we'd like to open it up now for some questions. We've got a few that's come in now, and while we go through these, feel free to add more if you think of any. So we have one question here. AI is a new buzzword. What is it exactly?
It's a great question. So, and I touched a little bit on this in the webinar, but traditional marketing has been done via personas or rules-based approaches with limited sets of data. And predictive analytics and modeling has been around for many years. But when one looks under the hood much more closely, if an organization is using regression modeling, those types of models and algorithms are really designed for upwards of 200 to 400 potential attributes. A persona-based marketing, a large enterprise organization may have 6 or 8 personas that define the messaging that they want to deliver to their target audience. And you would segment to those personas. But there's far more than 6 different personality types or characteristics of buyers. What we really need to do is get into micro-targeting, micro-segmentation. And more importantly, instead of using 200 to 400 data elements in a regression model, let's use 1,000 data elements or 10,000 data elements. And in this case, you have to use an entirely different set of algorithms that are designed to look at every single combination of those 10,000 attributes, because there can be multiples, and look at each individual buyer and look for the patterns and the clustering of those attributes that lead towards higher propensity to buy. And that really is what artificial intelligence is. And it's supervised learning models that learn on a continual basis as more transactions occur, as more customers come in, as conversions occur. New people come in with new characteristics. They're constantly learning by looking at the data associated to each individual buyer.
Great. So we actually have another question here. How do you work with Predict in Dynamics 365? I assume that's like how do you get it to?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great question.
Great question. And a theme throughout everything we do with our data technology is automation. Early on in this evolutional wave of data technology, predictive analytics, there's lots of custom work being done, custom coding. You need to hire a data science team. We build a layer of automation that automatically allows the construction of a predictive model, as I've described. And that automation allows us to build these types of capabilities into existing platforms. In the case of Dynamics 365, Vertian Predict is built in as a seamless feature and functionality and solution within the CRM. You can validate your data. We'll look at the data that resides within a marketing list and determine, is it current? What's the quality of that data? We do data enhancement, data enrichment. We can add an email if you have a first name, last name, and an address. We can add a phone number. We can add firmographic data, demographic data in the case of consumer, to help understand the prospect better. And then ultimately, our ability to build an AI-based model, again, which is trained off of those who converted versus those who did not. Closed won, closed lost resides within the CRM. So we can pull that data in via API and automatically train and build a predictive model literally in a matter of a few hours versus weeks or maybe even months in some cases through traditional professional services. And these models can be continually trained as the CRM expands in terms of new customers. That's all available within Predict in Dynamics, and it's available to every user of Dynamics free.
Okay, next question. How much does it all cost? That's a great question.
Well, in the case of Dynamics, thanks to Microsoft, every user of Dynamics gets access to these capabilities at no additional cost. Outside of that environment, we typically charge on volume. There's a nominal access fee for accessing the platform, and depending on how the platform is exercised, whether it's data hygiene, data enrichment, predictive scoring or modeling, intelligent audience creation, our business model is based on variable uses. How many records are we cleaning? Is it 10 million records or 100 million records? And so we have tiered pricing based upon the volume of exercising the underlying platform.
Okay, next question. How does accessing the platform via API work?
So as we look at the promise of becoming data-driven, it's a horizontal opportunity. Every company can take advantage of these things we're discussing. And so when you think of different verticals, different industries, retail versus financial services, there are nuances and there are specific requirements that may be different between different verticals. And so what our platform allows at the API layer is we can custom configure each API. Which data elements do you want to pull out of the platform? What's the nature of the phone data you want to pull out? Do you want to pull in additional contact details? What is the what is the end goal that's looking to be achieved. And so what we can do very easily is we can configure these APIs to pull from the platform in ways that are customizable to the specific needs of each individual customer of ours in different verticals. And once that API is set, now the value can be extracted in the most effective way for each customer.
Great. Great. Thanks for that question. Okay, I think we've got time for one more. So we have one here. How do you get your life data? That's a good one.
It's a good question. And we get that question all the time because there's so much of the data. Our life data, it resides in 9,600 files. One file might be a 400 million record auto file. One file might be a 1.2 billion record address history file, where people have lived. One file might be corporate hierarchy data, parents and subsidiaries of businesses. We own 95% of that data. We source 2/3 of the data ourselves using our own technologies. So the third that we don't source, we buy, we acquire it. There are data aggregators in the auto industry that are pulling this information in. Dealer networks, the Jiffy Lubes, they're gathering data all the time, and data aggregators pull this together. So we'll buy that data, for example, for 1/3 of the time. But then we'll enhance it. We'll create derivative data on top of it by layering our data on top of the baseline and create new attributes from that. 2/3 of the data, we are the direct source of, which means we have risk crawling infrastructure that looks out on the web for information. There is a wealth amount of public record information. The FBI spits out crime stats. Very insightful data, especially if you're looking to buy an ADT security system. Or maybe it turns out you find that certain areas that have lower crime also have other interesting associations. You have to be able to know where that data is. You have to pull it down using technology. And then there's a layer of processing that has to occur to be able to use it. In the case of FBI and crime stats, it's published in unique polygons. And they don't map to any usable geographic boundary. They don't map to zip codes. They're unique polygons. So we'll pull that data in. We'll transpose it into zip codes and zip+4. So now we can assign a relative understanding of crime rate down to a 10-block household level. And that's just one example of one attribute that might feed a predictive model. Certainly one can imagine how it would impact a security system propensity to purchase model. But it turns out, ironically, in a model we built for online tutoring, we saw signal that people who desired or engaged in tutoring services happen to be in neighborhoods with less crime. So oftentimes with all this data, the data doesn't lie, and you uncover interesting and unique insights when you start analyzing it.
Great. Awesome. So that was actually all the questions we received, and those are all awesome questions. If you think of any more, again, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Shortly after the webinar, we will get you all access to the recording of the session. And so if you think of any more questions, reach out. So one last slide here. To get started, we want to give you a couple of things to get started right away if you want to access any of these awesome tools that Chris has been talking about. So as we mentioned earlier, Data Finder, that's our easy-to-use suite of self-serve tools. You can access that anytime by going to datafinder.com. It's free to register, and you can start accessing all of these great services. Again, if you are already if you are already a Dynamics 365 user, you have access to Predict. Again, that's included in your subscription. And so we've got a link there up there on the screen for you to learn more and how to activate that in Dynamics. Again, if you want more information on any of the stuff that Chris has been talking about, how to access the platform, if you have questions about our products, email sales@Versium.com. And if you have any other questions, feedback about the webinar, please email me. And that's the last email address there, hsonio@Versium.com. So again, we want to thank you so much for your time. A couple things before I let you go. There are 3 handouts that are available to you that you can download from the control panel there on your screen. One of them is it's just a 1-page T-Mobile case study. So that covers everything that Chris was talking about earlier and the great things we did for T-Mobile to increase their marketing efficiencies. We also are providing you a one-page handout on our company, Versium, and what we do. And then we also have a handout on our life data. So it's a data sheet that covers all of the consumer and business data assets in our life data. So really great handout if you want to check that out. Again, we will give you access to the recording of the session so you can review it again later, send your questions if you come up with more. And again, we want to thank you for your time and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.